always learned by swilling facts, you know, just sort of absorbing the written and the spoken word. And all of a sudden I realized that if I was going to learn enough to stay alive, I needed to really learn through observation. I needed to pay attention in ways I'd never paid attention before. I needed to rely on my wits, and I needed experience fast. Which brings to mind that story about the bank president who's retiring after this very illustrious career, and he's asked, you know, what was the secret to your success? And he said, good decisions. And he's pressed a little further, well, you know, how do you make those good decisions? He says, experience. And pressed again, how do you get the experience to make those good decisions? He lets himself have this little wry smile and he says, bad decisions. So we all make bad decisions. The trick is to live through them. I started noticing things that I had never noticed before, like avalanches on the side of my car. And I'd always kind of assumed that we just see what there is to be seen. We open our eyes and we see. But it isn't really that way. I was reminded of this sort of novelty of having a whole new world opened up in front of your eyes. Just this year, I had a very good friend in July who put a pizza in the oven, went for a half-an-hour bike ride, flipped over his bicycle handles, and now he's a quadriplegic. He can move just a couple fingers. And now I'm seeing wheelchairs everywhere, everywhere I go. And I think, why didn't I ever see those before? Certainly they were there. And they just weren't part of my way of knowing the world. Snow's a pretty amazing substance. It's capable of doing this. This isn't computer paper, it's snow, just folding back on itself. Or it does things like this, which make it absolutely impossible to do your errands because you have to keep getting out of the car, taking pictures of telephone poles, getting back in the car again. Or what I'm really interested in is this. It's this moment of truth when snow fails brittly. Funny thing happened. This is Doug's lucky day. I hadn't eaten quite enough for breakfast. A funny thing happened along the way of this learning process. Doug Fessler and I did this dance. He went from very reluctant mentor to someone that I could trust, to someone who could trust me, to partner, to husband. So we've evolved a lifestyle where we work 7 days a week in the winter as avalanche specialists. What that means is that we do a lot of hazard consulting, which is mapping, identifying hazard areas, designing mitigation structures. We do operational avalanche forecasting and control. Here we're throwing explosives from a helicopter. This is actually for a feature film. Lots of times we bring avalanches down so that we can get crews safely into hazardous places. We do a lot of teaching, primarily of backcountry travelers, how to avoid getting caught in avalanches. And the bad part of our job, and what's probably going to drive me out of the avalanche business, is that we do a lot of rescue. And when you're getting called in on a formal rescue, too much time has gone by. So I've now, in 20 years, I've dug out about 40 dead bodies, and that's starting to get pretty old. In the summertime, we take off, and we do long rowing trips in the Arctic and in the subarctic in 2 boats. And over the last 18 years, we've rowed about 25,000 miles together. It's not a function of undue strength or bravery. It is simply repetitive motion over many, many years. But it brings to mind this story about Alice when she's trying to find her way through Wonderland. And she asks the Cheshire Cat, she says, can you tell me which way I should go from here? And the cat says, well, that depends on where you want to get to. And Alice says, I don't much care. And Cheshire Cat said, well, then it doesn't much matter. She says, but as long as I get somewhere. And the Cheshire Cat said, oh, you're sure to do that, as long as you walk long enough.